Our story is memory. Where were you on Sunday, July 6, 1975? Perhaps you were one of the 50,000 New York racing fans at beautiful Belmont Park, or you could have been one of the 13 million attending by way of television. The Willows would weep this day, but there was no hint of that in the mood of a joyful crowd anticipating a match race that had taken America by its heart. In the spirit of things, it did seem a day to dance. This was one of those rare sporting events that transcends the sports pages. It was the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Heavyweight Championship, all of them and more, for it had the added flavor of women's liberation versus male chauvinism, a horse race that was also a battle of the sexes.
I think that Ruffian's going to win because she's the better horse.
Well, I pick Foolish Pleasure just because he's a male.
Ruffian because she's a female.
Foolish Pleasure.
I say Ruffian, and I think it's for women's liberation.
I have to agree with my wife.
I like Foolish Pleasure because I'm a male chauvinist pig.
I believe Ruffian's going to win the race because every race she ever ran, she always left the opponent in the dust.
Tension mounted for fans and principals alike. Leroy Jolly, brilliant young trainer of Foolish Pleasure. The owner of Foolish Pleasure, Mr. John Greer. Ruffian's owners, Mr. Stuart Janney and Mrs. Stuart Janney. The stars make their entrance. Foolish Pleasure, the nation's top 3-year-old colt. Ruffian, far and away the dominant 3-year-old filly. Leroy Jolly prepares the brown colt, Foolish Pleasure. Frank Whiteley readies the black filly, Ruffian. Jockey Jacinto Vasquez gets up on Ruffian. Braulio Baeza rides Foolish Pleasure, two great race riders in a countdown to the drama that will determine which horse is faster this day. The intrigue and appeal of match racing is historic. In our time, memory pulses with recollections of Man o' War versus Sir Barton, Zev against Papyrus. It calls back Seabiscuit War Admiral, Alsab, Whirlaway, Armed Assault, and Nashua Swaps. But none of them, that glittering lot, promised more than this moment. Ruffian, the Black Beauty, winner of all 10 career starts. Foolish Pleasure, winner of 11 of 14 races, including a Kentucky Derby that at the time established him as the best 3-year-old. The building drama made the moment electric. Ruffian, racing's brightest star since Secretariat, had captured the imagination and hearts of fans from coast to coast.
And the number 2 is John L. Greer's Foolish Pleasure.
The ultimate answer to the girl-boy confrontation would be but 2 minutes away at the finish line. We were expecting such a simple answer.
It is now post time.
I saw her first in October of '73 as a yearling at Claiborne Farm. And she was a grand-looking filly. Couldn't help from liking her. Couldn't tell what she could run in or not.
Ruffian, we now know, was something special. Trainer Frank Whiteley is patient and hard-working, one of the world's great trainers. Guiding Ruffian for her entire career, he was the man most responsible for her development.
She acted like she had a lot of ability. I think her first race would be in late May of '74. She's a great responsibility, but nice to be around. Pleasure to be around. Well, she's the best filly I ever had, and there's no question about that.
What had Ruffian done that made this match race seem as ordained as the stars in their courses? In 1974, she won all 5 starts by an average of 9 lengths. Frank Whiteley set one immediate goal for 1975, a sweep of the Triple Crown for fillies, something only 3 horses had ever done. The first step was the Acorn Stakes at Aqueduct on May 10th. Track announcer Dave Johnson.
It is now post time.
They're up. On the outside, Noble Sita going for the lead. It's Sir Ivor Sorrow ranging up, and Ruffian along the inside now moving and taking the lead. That's Ruffian in front by a head, with Piece of Luck second on the outside by 2 lengths. Noble Sita is third by 3/4 of a length. Gallant Trial is fourth on the rail by a head. Then Sir Ivor Sorrow on the outside, Something Regal along the rail, and Point in Time is 7th. Continuing down the backstretch, Ruffian along the rail leads by 1/2 a length. Piece of Luck on the outside is second by 5. Along the rail, Sir Ivor Sorrow, Something Regal moves up. Then on the outside, Noble Sita. They pass the half-mile pole. Ruffian in command now by 1.25 lengths. Piece of Luck is second on the outside by 3, and Something Regal races third. First quarter in 23-2 and 45-3 for the half. Past the 3/8 pole, Ruffian in front by a length. Piece of Luck is now second by 3. Something Regal racing away from the rail is third by a head. Point in Time is fourth on the rail. Sir Ivor Sorrow and Noble Sita, they're in the stretch, and Ruffian is in command by 4. Piece of Luck racing second 1.25 on the outside. Something Regal coming past the 8 pole. It's Ruffian in front by 7 lengths. Something Regal on the outside, second. Point in Time. The others now far back as Ruffian draws away to lead by 9. Ruffian in front and going easily. Never being asked to run, and under the wire the winner by 8 lengths. Ruffian with just a super length goes aboard. The time on the board, 1 minute 34 and 2/5 seconds, a new state record for the Acorn.
Had it been a fight, it would have been stopped. Ruffian was that awesome. Mike Bell, the assistant who executes many of Frank Whiteley's decisions, recalls joining the Ruffian family early in 1974.
Well, I came to work for Mr. Whiteley approximately a week before she first ran. And I always thought that, well, I didn't know her name till like the day she ran, or the day before when she was in the overnights. I don't think too many people did. It's a joke now, but it looked like, of course, she only won by 15 and equaled the track record. I thought she was too heavy. She just had a queenly air about her that anybody would have to admire. You could walk down the shed and nobody tell you who Ruffian was. I mean, just anybody off the street that didn't know horses, they would know who Ruffian was. The way she carried herself, highly intelligent. She was real businesslike, you know, and I think she kind of wanted to go out there and do her thing and get it over with and then relax and come on back home. I think I'm awful lucky just to have been around her.
All the Locust Hill Farm family rejoiced in Ruffian, but perhaps no one man more personified that combination of day-to-day duties and emotional bond than groom Dan Williams, her constant companion. He accompanied her in Aqueduct's paddock on May 31st, 1975 for the Mother Goose Stakes. At 1 1/8 the Mother Goose is the second hurdle in the fillies' Triple Crown. Ruffian's fans, extremely confident, sent her to the post at 1-10 odds for the second straight time. She entered the starting gate virtually on her own, a sensible lady going about her business.
And it is now post time. And they're off. Number 7, Dan's Commander, unseated the rider at the start. Ruffian on the outside, quickly taking command, with Sun and Snow between horses. Along the inside, Sir Ivor Sorrow is third.
With her matchless bounty of raw speed, Ruffian raced to the lead. Unlike many of the great speed horses of the past, she was not one to squander her gift impetuously. Ruffian's generosity in allowing the rider absolute control of her speed added a compelling dimension to her talents. After rounding the first turn, with Sir Ivor Sorrow on the rail and Sun and Snow making authentic challenges, Vasquez led out just a subtle notch, and Ruffian drew off again.
They continue down the backstretch, and Ruffian has the lead by 1.25 lengths. Sir Ivor Sorrow, second, 3/4 of a length. Sun and Snow on the outside is third.
Late in the backstretch, her rivals forced another move, but Ruffian's rider let out yet another notch as they headed into the final turn.
The half-mile time was 47 3/5 seconds. And around the far turn, now Ruffian draws away to lead by 2, as Sun and Snow on the outside is second by a head. Along the rail, Survivor's Sorrow drops back 3rd. Gallant Trial on the outside is 4th. Then Sweet Old Girl and Point...
Coming to the quarter pole and into the home stretch, Vasquez finally allowed Ruffian to run on her own. She knew what to do.
Ruffian in front by 2 1/4 lengths. Sun and Snow second by a length. Gallant Trial on the outside is 3rd. Ruffian in front now by 5 lengths.
As usual, Ruffian never felt the sting of her rider's whip. Vasquez was in command as the great filly, under a mild hand ride, pulled away fluidly, cruising in high gear.
Ruffian in front. He's come to the wire. The winner by 15 lengths is Ruffian with Vasquez to the Vasquez aboard. Sweet Old Girl finishes second. Sun and Snow gets the show spot.
A mile and an eighth in 1:47 4/5. Another stakes record for the filly and her owner. What Ruffian was defies definition. How do you measure that courage, that elegance? How do you chart sheer excellence? It's beyond mere words and figures, beyond science. Dr. Manuel Gilman, highly respected head veterinarian of the New York Racing Association, recalled her first performances.
Quite a few clockers were talking about her. She worked very fast. She worked very smooth. But nobody pays too much attention to a horse before they run. After she ran twice, then we realized, I certainly realized it, and everybody else did, that she was something extraordinary. As far as the physical makeup of Ruffian is concerned, she was a very big filly. She was much larger than the average filly. As a matter of fact, she was larger than the average colt. I weighed her a couple of weeks before the race, and she weighed 1,125 pounds. Foolish Pleasure weighed 1,061 at the same time, and he was a colt the same age. She was a very large filly. She never looked large unless you stepped into her, for the simple reason that she was very well proportioned, and she was a very strong, healthy filly, had a very long stride. She never looked like she was going as fast as she was. But this particular filly, I'll always remember her as possibly the best filly that's been around in many a generation.
But still the skeptics asked, can she carry her speed over a distance of ground? The final jewel in the filly's Triple Crown would answer that question. The Coaching Club American Oaks is a test of endurance at 1.5 miles, a distance identical to the Belmont Stakes run by colts 2 weeks earlier. Imparting human qualities to an animal may be a fallacy, but still, to her public, she was a queen. Yet it wasn't all sentiment. The odds board can't display beyond 1 to 9, but the knowing bettors sent Ruffian off at 1 to 20.
The horses are on the track for the Coaching Club American Oaks.
Once again, Dave Johnson.
And they're on. And Sun and Snow from between horses. There goes Ruffian. Now Ruffian out to take the lead. Sun and Snow second. Gallant Trial is third. Let Me Linger on the outside fourth. Equal Change is fifth. Along the inside, Sweet Old Girl. They go to the clubhouse turn, and Ruffian has the lead by 2 lengths. That's Let Me Linger second by 1. And Equal Change on the outside is racing third. Gallant Trial skims the rail fourth. Sun and Snow moves up fifth on the outside. Then a gap of length and a half. Sweet Old Girl is next, and Funny Cat is seventh. As they move to the backstretch, Ruffian now draws away to lead by 6 lengths. Let Me Linger is second by half a length. Equal Change races third by 4. Gallant Trial is fifth at this point by a head. Sun and Snow on the outside is next. Then Sweet Old Girl and Funny Cat. The half is in 49 seconds. Down the backstretch, Ruffian in front now by 4.5 lengths. Let Me Linger is second by a length and a half, and Equal Change races third by 5. Sun and Snow is fourth by a head on the inside. Gallant Trial racing fifth by 1. Then Sweet Old Girl, Funny Cat on the outside is seventh, past the 3/4 pole. It's Ruffian in front by 4 lengths. Let Me Linger, second by 3 parts of a length with equal change on the outside. Now a closer third as they go to the far turn. Ruffian has the lead by a length and a quarter. Let Me Linger is second. There goes equal change up on the outside. Now equal change is second. Let Me Linger back to third. A gap of 7 lengths to Gallant Trial fourth. Sun and Snow is fifth. Funny Cat and Sweet Old Girl, they're on the far turn. Ruffian has the lead by a length and 3/4. Equal change is second, 3 parts of a length. On the inside, Let Me Linger is right there third. Then a gap of 6 to Gallant Trial, 3/8 of a mile to the finish. It's Ruffian in front by a length and a quarter. Equal change on the outside is second by 1. And Let Me Linger is racing third as they come to the top of the stretch. Ruffian has the lead by a length and a half. And equal change is now second. Let Me Linger drops back. Gallant Trial swings to the outside. And down the stretch they come. Ruffian in front now by 2.5 lengths. Equal change is second by the same margin. And Gallant Trial races third. As they come to the final 16th, it's Ruffian in front by 2. Equal change is second. It's Ruffian in front. Never touched by the whip. Ruffian under the wire, the winner by 2.25 lengths. With equal change second by 6. And Let Me Linger in for the show spot. Ruffian, undefeated in 10 starts, wins the Coaching Club American Oaks.
The filly's Triple Crown was won. Any doubts concerning Ruffian's distance abilities were dispelled in the stretch. The time of 2:27 4/5 not only equaled the stakes record, but was 2/5 of a second faster than the winning time for the 1975 Belmont Stakes. It seems unthinkable that this was Ruffian's final parade through Victory Lane. Selfishly, we thought we would have her forever. It was more than 10 straight victories that won the allegiance of Jacinto Vasquez. One of America's leading riders, Vasquez was perhaps the best witness to her power. As the regular rider of both Foolish Pleasure and Ruffian, he gave his heart to the filly and chose to ride her in the match race.
She's a lot different than most of the horses because she break out of the gate running and she finished running all the time. I probably was one of the fortunate riders in my career. I rode one of the best horses in the country. Ruffian never got beat. When she broke her leg, she was in front.
How life taunts us. The filly that may have been the greatest in history would go eye to eye and heart to heart with the winner of the Kentucky Derby. We thought that was all there was to it, and it would have been enough. But a scant 3.5 furlongs down the backstretch, tragedy would become an added starter in the great match race.
It is now post time. Foolish Pleasure on the outside goes for the lead. Ruffian along the inside up to challenge. Ruffian on the inside now gets for the front by a head. Foolish Pleasure on the outside is right there. She's in front by a head. He's on the outside. Now there's stride for stride. Down the backstretch, past the first quarter, Ruffian has the lead by a head. On the outside, Foolish Pleasure staying right with her. They continue down the backstretch. It's Ruffian on the rail in front by a head. Foolish Pleasure is on the outside and challenging. Now she's in front by half a length with Foolish Pleasure on the outside second. The first quarter in 22 1/5 seconds. Ruffian has broken down. Ruffian is stopped. Foolish Pleasure continuing.
The flame of Ruffian's fierce, robust spirit had burned for the final time. Ruffian, undefeated black daughter of reviewer out of the mare shenanigans, drew her last competitive breath where she had been all her racing life, on the lead.
Saratoga. The New York Racing Association racecourses were once again the home of champions, as all 1977 Eclipse Award winners participated in this historic year. Among the thoroughbred elite thrilling New York crowds with memorable performances were Johnny D, Affirmed, and Our Mims. But it's doubtful that there's ever been 3 stars shining with such singular incandescence as Steve Cauthen, Forego, and Seattle Slew in the year of 1977. The newest and brightest sensation of the season was Steve Cauthen, a young man who rocked the horse racing industry with a year that will long be remembered. The 17-year-old jockey captured 2 Eclipse Awards as the Outstanding Apprentice Rider and as the Outstanding Jockey. The honors and titles bestowed on Steve Cauthen were far-ranging, and all of thoroughbred racing rejoiced in Cauthen's selection over superstars from the entire sports galaxy as Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. At a time in life when his Walton, Kentucky friends were seniors in high school, Steve Cauthen was at the top of his profession.
When I was younger, when football season came in, that's what I wanted to be, was a quarterback. But when at the age of 12, I decided that I wanted to start working toward a career at riding. At the time, I didn't know if I'd get too big, but I wanted to start working toward it early and I had all the opportunities. Everything was right there. All I had to do was start working at it, and it turned out good. My father helped me. The hard part for me is trying to get time to think about my riding. You got to have time to review what you're going to try to do in the races.
What Steve Cauthen did was much more than just win. He provided thoroughbred racing with its heaviest attention since the heroics of Secretariat. Steve Cauthen won 477 races in the year 1977, and his mounts earned more than $6 million. A bright, hard-working young man, Cauthen impressed veteran trainers with his attitude and a deep-rooted love of horses. His style is impeccable, from ambidextrous whipping to a well-organized hand ride. He possesses all the solid credentials of the professional jockey. Cauthen's motions stem from the arms. His body remains virtually immobile and well-draped to minimize wind resistance. Beautifully coordinated with his mount, Cauthen is excellent at the post, willing to go between horses, and a strong finisher. He displays extraordinary grace and perception that belie his youthfulness. Steve Cauthen made 1977 his year. There'll be many more of the Cauthen years.
Forego is now 8th on the outside.
One of the established stars of thoroughbred racing concluded 1976 with a performance that has to rank among the most exciting and dramatic finishes in racing history. Forego was the star. The Marlboro Cup Handicap was the event, and Willie Shoemaker was the jockey's portion of the 137-pound package Forego was carrying. The leader at this point, Honest Pleasure, was assigned 119 pounds.
Pleasure maintaining the lead by 2 lengths. Dance Spell is second by a head. On the inside, Father Hogan. Life's Hope is next, and on the far outside, Forego. Into the stretch. Honest Pleasure has the lead by a length and a half. It's Dance Spell second. Father Hogan on the inside third. Forego gains ground on the far outside. A furlong to the finish. Honest Pleasure has the lead. On the outside, here comes Forego. Father Hogan toward the rail. It's Honest Pleasure. Forego on the outside. Forego on the outside, and Honest Pleasure. Here's the finish.
Forego's amazing stretch run just noses out Honest Pleasure. In fact, Forego's owner, Mrs. Martha Gary, had to wait for the photo to be convinced.
was the most exciting race I think I've ever seen, because we really didn't think he was going to make it and weren't quite sure that he had, because he was carrying top weight and more weight than anyone's ever carried in the Marlboro. He was out in the middle of the track, and our box is beyond the finish line, so we really couldn't tell whether he'd won it or not. It's the most gratifying thing in the world. It's really very exciting and gives one a great deal of pleasure.
Forego, the favorite of New York racing fans, received a tumultuous ovation as he paraded down victory lane, having just clinched his third consecutive Horse of the Year title. Forego's 1977 debut came on a brilliant, sunshiny Belmont afternoon in May, as trainer Frank Whiteley entered the champ in a 7-furlong allowance race, a warm-up for the Metropolitan Handicap a week away. Down the stretch, it was Forego on the outside and Dance Spell on the inside, battling for the lead. Willie Shoemaker gives Forego a confident hand ride, and the big gelding edges away from Dance Spell for a half-length victory. Forego, the People's Choice, was now properly prepared for his initial handicap race of the year. His assignment was the 1-mile Metropolitan Handicap with 133 pounds to carry. Willie Shoemaker would be making his 4th straight appearance as Forego's rider, and the dynamic pair were undefeated. Forego's loyal legion of fans were as well prepared as their hero was for the 1977 Metropolitan.
And they're up. On the outside, quickly Barrera for the early lead, also full out on the outside. Then moving through along the inside, it's Freezing, followed by Gentle King, Soy Numero Uno. Yamanin beginning to move up along the rail. Further back, it's Co-Host, Forego, Cool as Ice, Great Above, finally, Wise Phillip. The trailer, very far back, Romantic lead. Down the backstretch, Barrera by 2.5. Yamanin into second by a head. Full out is third, 2.5. It's Freezing is fourth by 3 lengths. Gentle King in fifth by a half. On the outside, Soy Numero Uno 6. Great Above is seventh. Then moving on the outside, Co-Host, followed by Forego and Wise Phillip. Moving on the turn, still Barrera, now by 3.5. Driving in second is Co-Host, by rather full out by 1.5 lengths. Yamanin in third, it's Freezing fourth. Co-Host is fifth, then Gentle King and Great Above. The head of the stretch, Barrera wide into the stretch, and full out moves through. Full out along the inside, now the leader at the head of the stretch. Barrera is holding on in second. It's Freezing driving in third. Forego on the outside is coming on. They near the finish. On the inside, full out. Forego now takes over. It's Forego drawing away on the outside. Forego then.
As Martha Geary led Forego into the winner's circle, it was yet another joyous moment. But the champion was to encounter problems in the not-too-distant future. After winning the Nassau County Handicap, he finished second in the Suburban and again in the Brooklyn under 138 and 137-pound burdens. Following a last-place finish in the Whitney on a sloppy Saratoga track, Forego returned to Belmont Park for the Woodward Handicap on September 17th. Great champions always fight back. But although the sun broke through late in the day, it was once more an off track. Forego would receive no help from Mother Nature in his bid to win the Woodward.
And they're off for the lead. On the extreme outside, it's Wise Phillip and Co-Host. Now Silver Series, Capital Idea, J.O. Tobin. He's through along the rail, and he has the lead as they move on to the main track. It's J.O. Tobin taking the lead by 1 length. Moving alongside is Centillo in second. Then it's 2 lengths back to Affiliate and Silver Series, followed by Capital Idea. Then Co-Host, another 3 lengths. And Wise Phillip, Forego along the inside. Then it's Great Contractor and finally Proud Birdie.
Moving down the backstretch, on the inside, Centillo is up to take the lead and now has it by 1. J.O. Tobin is second on the outside, 2.5, and Silver Series third by 1. Affiliate is fourth, co-host in fifth, and on the outside, Capital Idea. Those three are together. Then it's a gap of 3 lengths to Forego. On the outside, Wise Phillip, then Great Contractor along the rail, and finally Proud Birdie. They're on the turn. They went a half mile in a quick 45 3/5. The leader is Centillo, leading by a half. J.O. Tobin is second by 3/4. Silver Series into third on the outside, and here's Forego. He's going to run today, folks. He's moved into fourth. They're coming for the head of the stretch. Along the inside, it's Centillo, then J.O. Tobin, Silver Series, and Forego on the outside. Great Contractor is making up ground, and he's down along the rail. They're in the stretch, and it's still Centillo holding on. Silver Series is here to challenge, but Forego is on the outside, and he's moving very fast. Coming for the wire. That's Forego on the outside. He's got the lead as they come for the wire. Here's Forego taking over by 1. Silver Series holds second. Forego had indeed fought back with his familiar outside pitch and earned the 1977 Eclipse Award as Champion Handicap Horse. An injured ankle ended his season prematurely, but nothing was quite so premature as rumors that the mighty Forego was over the hill.
Two and a quarter lengths. It's winter.
1977's Horse of the Year made the Wood Memorial the stepping stone to the Kentucky Derby for the third consecutive year. Seattle Slew and jockey Jean Cruguet sailed through the stretch virtually alone as Slew wrapped up his 6th triumph in an equal number of starts. 3 as a 2-year-old, 3 as a 3-year-old, and he was off to Churchill Downs as the odds-on favorite. But the start of the Kentucky Derby dismayed the Seattle Slew backers. Slew veers to the right, Cruguet's weight shifts left, and he does a masterful job merely staying aboard. Imprisoned behind a wall of horses, Seattle Slew reveals there's more than a touch of street fighter in his nature. The first quarter of a mile documents what Slew is all about as he bulls his way out of jeopardy. Shut off, Seattle Slew fights his way through, displaying a fierce competitive spirit as he outruns Bob's Dusty and then, for the moment, to the first turn. In the stretch, Seattle Slew has reserve power to pull away from the rest of the 15-horse field. Jean Cruguet whips right-handed, and Slew widens his lead as for the moment fades. Run Dusty Run is all out to maintain second as Sanhedrin rallies from far back to move into the show position. But the 1977 Kentucky Derby belongs to Seattle Slew. At Pimlico, Slew and Cormorant stage a determined duel in the early going of the Preakness, but Jean Cruguet and his undefeated colt make a big move on the final turn. The Kentucky Derby winner moves into the lead by a length and a quarter. Entering the stretch, Seattle Slew is in command. Iron Constitution surges up to second, but can't catch the 1-2 favorite. Slew wins the 102nd running of the Preakness and now needs only the Belmont Stakes to complete the treasured Triple Crown. Belmont Park's Barn 54 became the place to be as Seattle Slew fever infected the sports world. Slew's every move was newsworthy, and even the frequent bad weather of an inordinately wet spring could not deter the media. It was just such a rainy morning when trainer Billy Turner and exercise writer Mike Kennedy brought their champion to Belmont Park's main track for a final workout 1 day prior to the Belmont Stakes. The fog-shrouded early morning provides a moody atmosphere as Seattle Slew breaks off into an easy blowout. Mike Kennedy merely sits and allows Slew to work himself. final workout completed, Seattle Slew is now 32 hours and a mile and a half away from the Triple Crown. A respite from the constant rain allows trainer Billy Turner's crew to tend to Slew's million-dollar legs outside. A patient and friendly horse, Seattle Slew toys with his groom while his bold, inquisitive eye carefully notes the camera to his right. Belmont Park's beautiful paddock begins to fill early on Saturday, June 11th. The near-record crowd of more than 70,000 knows the 8th race will not start until after 5:30. But the paddock is jammed. Everyone wants a close-up look at the star. Slew's owners, Karen and Mickey Taylor, and Sally and Jim Hill, wait anxiously as Seattle Slew is a late arrival, delayed by traffic en route from Barn 54. Seattle Slew dances his way out to the track, displaying signs of tension. Small wonder, being surrounded by a sea of faces that is Belmont Park on this historic afternoon. The rain is ended, but even this typical glorious Belmont day can't perform miracles. The track is labeled muddy. Dry or wet, it's all the same to Seattle Slew.
And they're off. For the lead on the inside now, Seattle Slew goes for the lead. He has the lead as they move through the stretch. Up on the outside, it's Sanhedrin. Along the inside, Run Dusty Run. On the extreme outside, Spirit Level is moving up. They move for the first turn with Spirit Level on the extreme outside, and Seattle Slew along the rail. Then it's Run Dusty Run alongside Sanhedrin, followed by Mr. Red Wing, then Make Amends, Sir, and Iron Constitution. They're moving on the turn. Seattle Slew by a half length. Spirit Level is second by 2. Run Dusty Run is third by a half. Sanhedrin is fourth by 2.5. Then Mr. Red Wing is fifth by 3 lengths. Make Amends is alongside Sir, and the final horse is Iron Constitution. They've gone the first quarter of a mile, 24 and 3.5 and 48 and 2 with Seattle Slew now to receive a challenge on the outside. It's Seattle Slew on the inside. Run Dusty Run and Spirit Level have both moved up alongside. It's Seattle Slew holding on, however, and now he pulls away to a length again. Spirit Level is second ahead and Run Dusty Run is third. A gap of 4 back and it's Sanhedrin in fourth. Mr. Red Wing is fifth. Then it's Iron Constitution moving to sixth. Sir, and Make Amends, 3/4 of a mile in 1:14. They're moving on the turn. Still Seattle Slew, and he has it by 2. Run Dusty Run and Spirit Level are battling together second and third. Beginning to close a bit, Sanhedrin is fourth and closer. Mr. Red Wing is fifth. Iron Constitution in a furious drive is driving along the rail. They're coming on the turn with Seattle Slew still the leader. Seattle Slew, 1 mile and 1:38 and 4/5 now leads by a half. Still on the outside now, Sanhedrin has taken over. Then it's Run Dusty Run, swinging to the extreme outside, Iron Constitution. In the stretch, here he comes, and he's opening it up again. It's Seattle Slew, and he's drawing clear of the field. Seattle Slew has 4 lengths on Run Dusty Run. It's Run Dusty Run in second and Sanhedrin third. They're nearing the finish line. It's still Seattle Slew, and he's opened it out to 4.5. Then Run Dusty Run and Sanhedrin.
Seattle Slew wins the Belmont Stakes by 4 lengths and becomes the 10th horse in thoroughbred history to capture the Triple Crown and is the first horse ever to carry an undefeated record through the Triple Crown. The Belmont Park fans hail Seattle Slew and jockey Jean Cruguet with thunderous cheers. 109th running of the Belmont Leagues lived up to its advanced billing and culminates the dream that captivates all of racing. Departing after a day's work well done, Seattle Slew receives yet another ovation. While in the winner's circle, New York Governor Hugh Carey presents the Belmont Trophy to the Taylors and the Hills. Watching Seattle Slew once more on the turn for home and through the stretch run. It's a Triple Crown achievement secured with a minimum of doubt. From the time the first quarter of a mile of the Kentucky Derby was over, Seattle Slew was virtually unperturbed by challenge. Jean Cruguet looks back for the competition, but Seattle Slew has demolished the field. It's a complete victory, an historic Belmont Stakes, and an event that will long be remembered as Jean Cruguet celebrates Seattle Slew's treasured moment by stamping his audacious trademark on the 1977 racing season.
Yeah.